Hello. Welcome back to another video. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're not old here, but if you've been here before, then thank you for watching again. This whole channel was set up for me to talk about things that I'm passionate about, things I love, and so it's quite a varied bit of content. So maybe one day I'll find my niche, so to speak, but for now I'm just sharing things that I hope that, in some way, shape or form, make a difference or inspire someone to do something they've been thinking about doing, and so on and so forth. Hopefully not this subject we're talking about now, because you already know the title, how I dealt with my feelings of suicide. But in order for us to talk about this, we have to go away from the life that I now know and go away from the life that people who have met me in recent years know. So we've got to go, back, say, let's go back, say, 15 years. And it was a very different point in my life. I was, early 30s, just turned 30, and at a point where I'd lost everything financially. I had a moderately successful career in sales, and I had my own flat, and I had 3 investment properties. I had a Ferrari 355, an Audi A8. Life was good for a guy who was about 30 odd. I was living a pretty decent life. However, I was a bit of a arrogant prick. Some people say was. I was more of an arrogant prick, but the world humbled me, and what happened is I was a victim of property fraud. Turns out some properties that we'd bought, the mortgage broker, surveyor, and solicitor were all in cahoots with each other and had basically screwed us over. So I was in a point where I was kind of in between careers, and I had to take some time out. So I thought, let me sell one of the properties, cash out, give me some thinking time. I couldn't cash out because there was no cash to cash out. So that's where it all kind of started, the downhill spiral. And I come from, obviously, an Asian family, and Asian families have a certain expectation, or traditionally they have had an expectation of where you should be in life. And by that point, I should have been married and had a child. I was neither married, never had a child. I was at the brink of being homeless. So my life was not, to the standard or to the expectation that was set out for me. And looking around, especially around people that I knew, I felt like such a loser. My brother, my cousins, all people who were younger than me, doing better than me, my best friend, and I ended up moving back in with my parents because I couldn't afford anywhere to live. All the properties got repossessed. The best situation, the best outcome I could hope for in court, not in court, we'd have to physically go to court, but in legal proceedings, was that the bank takes the properties and they go their way and I go my way, and we draw a line in the sand. And I was quite keen to do that because we just started picture frame TV, and I just wanted to go move forward with the blank slate. Little did I know that in my head, all these things were festering, all these thoughts of I'm not good enough, I'm a loser. And I don't know if people thought these things. My parents were quite vocal about reminding me that, I was a massive failure and constantly comparing me to my brother. And this is no criticism. I mean, it's certainly not on my brother. And my parents either. This was just kind of like, this is the way that they thought they could get through to me. But obviously it wasn't the right way, because it left me feeling that I might as well kill myself if I'm so shit at everything. No one's going to want you, no one's going to want to marry you, like you've got no money, and you've got no career, and I thought I wasn't gonna get emotional when I do this, but this is the car driving home, thinking to myself, I'm gonna do this video. But yeah, it was the price. Even though staying at my mum and dad's was free, the price was the emotional kind of, I don't want to say abuse, but emotional journey that I had to go through. And even when we started the TV business, not just my parents, but people, around in the family were like, this is not going to work, you just need to get a job, blah, 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 blah. You can go out and make 50 grand a year in sales. And I wasn't interested. I wasn't interested in that. I just wanted to have my own business, be the master of my destiny, and just, move forward and get back to where I was. Now, your parents do, as I said, what they think is best. And I went as far as thinking things like, how fast do I have to drive a car into a wall for it to be quick? I didn't want to go through any pain. And whilst my parents did stuff like this, I was also conscious that I'm living in my house free. My mum, still cooks for me, does laundry and all the stuff that a mother does to show love to her son. And I was kind of conflicted. Like, on the one hand, you think I'm this fucking loser. And not just my parents, but also I thought it. So I don't know. And I've spoken to my sister-in-law about this before. I said to her, I used to think that you guys thought I was a loser. She was like, we didn't think that at all. But in my mind, I thought that. Because I thought that. I thought that's how everyone else thought that about me. My cousins, everyone. I used to go to family functions. I used to think to myself, be quiet, you don't have something interesting to say in this conversation, and I'm a talker. So you can imagine how difficult that was for me. But the one thing that changed things, and I was desperately trying to get this business off the ground, and for the first 2 years we didn't make anything, and I was at that point where I thought to myself, do I quit this and prove everyone right? And it's not that I did anything different. The business just needed that period of time to go through before it started. And we're not booming by any means, and we've never been booming. It's just been a good steady flow with some ups and downs throughout the years. But it got to a point where it started to see some full-time income. But as I was saying, one of the biggest things that changed this was when my niece was born. So when my niece was born, bless her, I remember vividly, this was 2012, and I was thinking to myself, man, you got to sort your shit out, you need to be a role model to this child. Because I've had so much love for her. So this is my brother's kid, but slightly prior to that, my cousin had a kid, and equally I was super close with her. Like, the amount that I cared about this child. So both the kids had a massive effect on my thinking. And another thing I used to think is, if I did do something like this, then I'm going to create work and clear up process for people, and that's going to be emotionally draining. Because as much as I didn't enjoy what my parents were saying, what I thought people were thinking, and maybe sometimes they were thinking that, I thought that I'm going to create work for everyone else. So maybe I should just stick around. It's weird that I'm saying this, but when I would have these thoughts, it was so, sticking around was, the thought of sticking around was more painful, because the thought of getting to the expectation that people have for me was so far away, where I thought to myself, what's the point? Like, what's the point in me even trying? Because I'm not going to get here, I'm not going to get there, I'm not going to get there. And if it is going to happen, it's going to take donkey's years to get to. And is going through all this pain every day worth it? And, you know, I've had cousins, I've had friends who have, you know, done things to themselves, which is basically abusive. And my abuse was eating. So I would tend to overeat. And that's my first thing as well at the moment. Even now, if I am not feeling good about things, the first thing I do is eat. But luckily, I've got that in check now. I've got that in control. But, and everyone's different. Some people use drink, some people use drugs. You know, whatever the vice is for somebody, that's the first thing we start to do. And for some reason, well, I did say the reason, my niece, I just had to stick around. I thought to myself, you need to get your shit together, because, like I said, you know, you're going to be a role model to this kid, and that had a massive effect, both on my work and my personal, you know, personally, like my personal opinion of myself. And since then, I've seen people, obviously not physically seen, but people around me have left this world. And the only reason I can think of is because the suffering of staying is more than going. And this wasn't just then, this was also during COVID time as well. I thought this, because I'd just gone through a breakup. And I thought to myself, like, they're being alone for like a whole entire month, 6 weeks straight, didn't see anybody else, or unless, you know, other than the people at the co-op, but just sitting at home doing nothing, brought those thoughts back, and watching, you know, Netflix stuff, and, you know, just getting emotional again. But like I said, shortly after my niece was born, life took a turn, and things started to improve, work started to pick up. In 2014, I put in an offer on a flat, and you know, it came through in 2015. Got back on the property ladder, and just, you know, and this stuff isn't. I'm not saying this isn't as in. This was a goal that I had to meet. So, and this is what made me feel useless, you know, by not having my life in order. In that respect. So the point is this, I knew that if I went, man, despite the unknowing, is that a word? Unconscious abuse that my parents would have, you know, or anyone else gave me, I knew they loved me. And I knew that if I went, my brother, everyone that loved me would be absolutely distraught. And that feeling and that certainty kept me around. And everyone, regardless of who you are, there are people who love and value you. And when times are hard, we tend to focus on the things that are bad. And that's a normal, natural human tendency. But what you've got to understand is, you know, like, after night comes day, and everything in a life is seasonal. Even the good is seasonal. So when I know at work things are going great, I'm ready. I'm ready for something, some balls up to happen. That's just the nature of life. And once you've been through some good and bad things in life, and you understand that, and you embrace that, then you're not going to have an unrealistic expectation of, you know, life being all hunky-dory all of the time. Yes, it is sometimes, but also there's bad things that happen as well. And, you know, there's no point in fighting with that. You just got to accept that. And that's the way I live my life now. And I have a much more balanced temperament. than I ever did before. And obviously, since buying my flat, things have changed further. I bought my house, business is better, and I'm living the life that in 2011, 12, I would have dreamt of living. Now I'm glad to say my parents and I have a great relationship, like beyond anything I could have ever dreamed of. We talk to each other about stuff. I talk to my dad about his feelings, how he feels about his life choices, and the same thing with my mum. Because we're people. Why should we talk about these things with other people and not talk about these things with our parents? And yeah, it's just lovely. It's absolutely wonderful. But yeah, sorry. Go back to the main subject. Massive mistake I made was I kept all these feelings to myself. I did not talk about this to a soul. I remember I would go to sleep at night and I would have these reoccurring thoughts every single day, but I never once talked to anyone. And now looking back at it, I think to myself, what a dickhead. Like, I had all these friends around me. I had all these people that really care about me. And I was afraid of judgment because a handful of people were judging me. So, if like me, you're at a point where you're not quite where you thought you were going to be in life, and, you've fallen short of, maybe forget other people's expectations, but your own expectations. Talk to somebody. We all have our ups and downs in life. That is just life. Obviously don't just wait for some things to happen. Be proactive and tap into that, whatever it is for you. For me, tapping into the energy of, okay, I love this kid, I love this child, and my, sole purpose is to be a good role model for her. So when she's older and she goes through some life shit, maybe she'll think, oh my, my uncle and I used to talk about this, blah, blah, blah. Just, she was it. She was the kind of main catalyst for me to get my life in order. So talk to somebody, talk to people about how you feel, especially now it's not unheard of to have these conversations. But trust me, society as a whole values people. And you're not alone, because everyone is feeling at some point or other inadequate in some aspect of their life. Very few people, and if they are, fair play to them, very few people have the perfect life. And if they are going so far as to try and outwardly show you this perfect life, the chances are it's probably not so perfect. So, I guess the moral of the video is just talk to someone, talk to anyone. But don't do the thing. Let's just call it the thing. We've called it many things in this little 15-20 minutes. It's very easy to just bury your head in the sand, and that's kind of what I did. I buried my head in the sand, thinking, this will go away at some point. But it doesn't go away. Like, you've got to be the master of your destiny, and it's definitely it's the hardest thing, I think, that human can go through, to go from adversity to a level of prosperity, whatever the opposite is, abundance or whatever it may be. It's not easy. So you might have to make your circle smaller and smaller, and include people that are understanding and supportive. Because we're not trees. We're not stuck somewhere. We can move. So if you're in a circle where people aren't supporting you, and even if that's family, like, I've estranged myself from certain members of the family because they're just not. I don't love them any less, but they're just not really conducive to me having a positive future. So therefore, I disassociate and just do the bare minimum. And with friends, it's even easier. Like, if you don't really like someone, just slowly move away and disassociate. But do surround yourself with people who do, and you'll slowly learn. And I learned this way as well. When everything's gone, when all the good times are gone, the people who are left, they're the real ones. And those are the people that are gonna, I was gonna say something really bad and politically incorrect here, but they're the ones who are gonna hold your hand and lead you, not do it for you. Nobody's gonna do it for you. We all have to do it ourselves. There's a phrase I love. Jim Rohn talks about. He says, you can't get someone else to do your press-ups for you. Those are things that you have to do yourself. But yeah, as cheesy as it may sound, you are loved and you are appreciated by more people than you know. So I'm gonna shut up and wish you the best, and thank you for watching this video. And yeah, just thanks for being in my life if I personally know you, and even if I don't personally know you, the fact that you've watched this video means there's some form of connection there, and I hope that my being here has a positive effect on you, and whatever I say, inspires you to do something positive. So yeah, that is it. I am now going to go and get the van, and then I'm going to go to the golf range and hit some balls. So thank you very much. Ciao for now.